Hello, I'm Alex Lafkus, and I want to talk to you about some of the common mistakes I see with people rowing their drift boats. It's gotten pretty humorous lately. There's a lot of boats out there now, something we didn't see a ton before, so we're getting used to it. But a lot of mistakes are made, and boat position's a big reason why you will or will not catch fish. Um, One thing I see is people really tend to stay in float with the current. Typically, the current runs through the deepest part of the river. That's not typically how you want to fish. You want to try to keep your boat in the shallowest water to fish the deeper water. So, a lot of times that will involve more rowing to the insides to make sure you're fishing all of the deep water. It's especially true in low water situations. In higher water, where the fish have a tendency to push to the banks, it's less important, I'd say. But a lot of times your big fish still come from the deeper centers, even in high water. Speed is another major concern. It's very critical for the rower to be observing the tension in the line between the angler and his fly. It's really easy with your guy in the bow. You watch his fly line as he's stripping. You want to make sure that it's moving. It's moving. You're seeing that line jump when he strips. If you're not seeing that, he's just pulling in slack the whole time. So he never has your guy in front will never have contact with his fly. You'll just see kind of the line just kind of hang there. You want to see it jump and pull tension. Maybe bend the rod tip a little if he's not pointed straight down the line. Um, that'll indicate that your speed is about right. If you're not seeing that, sometimes it takes a back oar stroke or something to get that tension back into in between the fly and the fly line. That's critical. You will miss more fish than anything else based on people going too fast. When the boat speed is too fast through your presentation, it costs you a ton of fish. Very critical. Keep that boat speed just a little slower. Monitor the line, look for tension. When I'm rowing, I can usually tell my client in the front when they got bit. Even if they don't want to tell me they missed one, I can see it in the line because I'm keeping that tension as I'm rowing. And I can watch and see the line and say, what was that? Okay, it's critical. Learn how to do that. Observe, watch the tension, make sure they're feeling that line and you're seeing it move. um, Also, I see a lot of people using push rowing a lot more than they should. Push rowing is to race. Push rowing is not to fish. um, you know that's just the deal. You always want to back row, go slow, ease up. You can push a little bit here and there. Sometimes you have to compensate. You have to steer a little bit into the wind. On the white where there's big winds and slow flows in Michigan with an upstream wind. There's a lot of times I'm driving the boat just by holding the oars in the water and keeping tension and just steering a little bit going into the wind. You let the current push the boat and you just basically steer. It's making the best out of the situation you're in. There's going to be a lot of times the wind's going to override you, but if you can keep that boat semi in position as long as you can, more good presentations, then all of a sudden you have to reposition. That's fine. That's normal. Um, so don't be afraid. Pull on the oars. Get used to learning how small oar strokes and what they'll do. A lot of times it's just a little feathering of an oar to spin the bow one direction or another to get the ass end to roll over a seam and get out or not. So learn to pull on the oars. No pushing unless you're pushing to either net a fish or you're racing someone downriver. The other thing I'd recommend is you get more into fishing these certain sections and learning certain sections of river. you know, Use your drift boat as a way to approach an area differently as well. If you think fish are on the inside corners, well, you got to put your boat way to the outside or else you're going to spook everything on the inside. If everything's on the outside, sorry, sometimes your boat's on the inside and you have no backcast. But it doesn't matter. You have to learn how to make this work. Um, in narrow rivers, one thing that'll help you is cast longer line. That way you can fish further out in front of your boat before your boat gets pushed into some of those small spots that you're trying to fish. So use different approaches. If you've got a good area that or it looks good and you're not catching fish on streamers, go in it at a different route. Stay in the deep, fish to the shallow, stay on the flat, fish into the deep. Don't cast at the wood, beat up the wood, mix it up. A lot of people aren't fortunate enough to go through the same section of river a lot. Well, I am. So I know these sections. And a lot of times by just moving your boat position, you can identify where these fish are. Hope those things help. It's just a little advice on how to row and a way to think about it. The most important stuff is, in low water situations, keeping your water in your boat in the shallow water, and really get used to watching the tension of the line between you and the guy fishing. If you're rowing, that's going to dictate your speed, and it'll help you tell if your speed is correct. Hope some of that stuff helped. Thanks.